Hello and welcome to week 3 of the World of Tanks weekly replays. I'm your host Mark. How's it going? And today we're going to be looking at the RU-251. It's the German Tier 8 light tank, the new one that came out in 9.3. I did a little bit of research. It is a real tank. It's a prototype. It came out in the early 1960s. It never used, actually. It was replaced by the Leopard. I believe the Leopard 1, because it just wasn't what they were looking for. They wanted a recon tank for a recon platoon, and they decided they didn't need that. It's really, really basic. There's a lot of information. There's a website called FTR for the record, which has a phenomenal source for historical accuracy, and obviously there's also Wikipedia, things like that. But today, we're going to look at it in game. I've got 3 battles lined up for you guys. The first is a very standard battle. It's a very similar format to what we saw last week. So we're going to be looking at just a standard battle. Very basic, nothing too crazy. But it'll be, we'll see how the tank just performs on average win. Day 2 or game 2 is going to be like an active scout-ish game. It's really hard to describe. It's an assault on Sand River. And what we're going to see there is how our driver uses the view range and the camo range to not only achieve a patrol duty, but he also plays very, very smart and takes advantage of the enemy mistakes so that he can get a very, very close win. It's a really good game. I think you guys will really enjoy it. Game number 3 is our big game of the week. It's a really, really solid play. Guy gets 5 kills, tons of damage, and Pascucci's medal. It's phenomenal. You guys will really enjoy it. So that's our big game of the week. We'll get into it, game 1, and let's see how it goes. All right, so let me get into game on pause. Here we go. Let's speed it up. And we are off. So you'll notice in this particular setup that WoT, who is our driver today, battle's going to start. There we go.
Let's go.
WoT, who is our driver for game number 1, is on Live Oaks. Now, Live Oaks is notorious because that giant lake in the middle really separates this into 2 lanes. The first lane, which is I'm going to consider lane 1, is the city. The city has a lot of cover, but not a lot of hills, which means that what you want is a heavy tank who has good armor for side scraping, or very good frontal armor, so that you can move through and brawl. Unfortunately, there's not enough city to prevent yourself from being sniped from the hill, so you need hit point pool and armor and lots of damage. Line number 2 is where our driver WoT is headed, and this plays better for faster tanks and tanks with good gun depression. What we see here at first is he popped into a bush and was looking to see if he could spot anyone coming around. He was too fast though, couldn't spot the Panther or the person who was moved up to the hill. But that's okay. So Pershing took some hits. He's down to about half health. Same with the Panther. So that's been a good first start. Now the issue here, just missed by a 53-55. 53-55 Tier 9 American artillery absolutely has enough damage to just crush. One shot, kill the RU-251. The 1,200 hit points you get from the fully upgraded version is basically nothing. So we've seen a couple of missed shots into the dirt against this Panther. There's another one. But he's keeping the Panther from doing a lot of damage. The Panther, although the damage is low, has enough penetration to punch through a lot of the tanks, so he can be very dangerous. Now, the issue here is that WoT's teammates in H8 and 9 need to push him. Right now, they're not helping. This FCM is going to get lit up and killed by the IS-3 and the Pershing because he has no support. If these heavies were down here giving support, then this would be a totally different game. As it stands, the IS-3 was able to get a free kill on the FCM 50 ton, and the Pershing was able to keep him tracked. So, our RU-251 with no support has to back out, takes a hit from the Pershing, and has to run away before he takes another one. Pershing does, I believe, 240 on the top damage, which is more than enough. That makes our friend here in Wolf Rain a 2-shot against the Pershing. Alright, took a shot at the gun mantlet. You're going to have a hard time getting through the gun mantlet in this tank. So that is not a shot that is going to work very well. Alright, we got a T-49 going up against the Pershing. The T-49 with that massive gun like we saw last week, no problem killing the 53 hit point remaining Pershing. So now, and I'll look around here, we have the IS-3, the T-49, a T-29, which is way back, a Panther II, which is way back, and a T-28 prototype, and a 5100. There are a lot of tanks here. They need to be making a push if they can. Let's see if they can make it work. They're up against an IS-3. That IS-3 should go down very, very rapidly. Is he even going to get another shot?
Target acquired.
Yep, he's going to get another shot. 5100 bounces, but the T-49 gets the kill. Alright, so now they're up against a IS-6 and an FCM 50T of their own. This is a very dangerous combination. The IS-6, very, very good armor, decent damage per minute, but it's not the gun that makes the tank, it's the armor. It's incredibly bouncy, much more than the IS-3, although the IS-3 is a better tank overall. The FCM, decent penetrations, good rate of fire. So if these two tanks were to work in concert, they could do a lot of damage. However, they don't appear to be doing that. This FCM is just not in a good position. Luckily for him, looks like the artillery took out a friendly T-49. And as a matter of fact, it looks like the northern team is really crushing. And it went from what could have been a very one-sided battle to it is now even. So, got our RU hero here, which is moving up, getting behind his IS-6. It's definitely the right move here. He's trying to stay out of the line of fire. That's a dangerous move. It could have easily killed him. But the IS-6 didn't pull the trigger, and down he goes. Now we've got to go up against the 53-55 here, and he fires and misses. A good shot. Let's see if he can't take him out. Oh man, shot comes in from an object 704 and it's only track damage, doesn't even track him. Very, very lucky break. Now here comes the best part of the replay. I'm going to pause it here because I want you guys to see this in slow motion. Alright? This demonstrates beyond a doubt how the model of the 53-55 is broken. You ready? We'll step it forward really slow. He's moving forward, he's moving forward. There's no way that he could possibly miss. Right? There's no way. It's impossible. And we're gonna wait. Wait for the trigger. And... might be a little slow, but it'll show up here. It's just a bit. The first time I watched this, I missed it. I couldn't believe he missed. And then I realized that there's a giant bug in the 53-55. There's the reload. He's waiting to pull the trigger. Alright. Here we go. Let's see if we can see the shell trajectory. There it is. Do you see it? Do you see it right there? It went... you can kind of see it right there, right? So that's straight through the turret, through the bottom. That's because there's no hitbox down there right now. As of 9.4, without the hotfixes, there is no hitbox at the bottom of the turret. He shot right at him, and it went straight through the tank. So, if you guys are seeing this, and they haven't patched it yet, be careful where you shoot. And hopefully, one of the hotfixes, I know they're releasing them on the RU servers, and they're releasing them on the EU hopefully soon. Until they fix this, you're going to shoot a 53-55, shoot it in the top of the turret or shoot it in the side. You'll notice in chat after this, they tend to go crazy. All right, here we go. So I'll put it back on fixed, get back up to 1, and people are just amazed that he missed. And the reason why he missed is because there's a hole in the hitbox. So it wasn't anything about the RU. It was the fact that when Wargaming dropped 9.4, they messed up big time on this particular tank's hitbox and just screwed it up. All right, so what do we got left here? After all of that, he's up against a 704, which is way back there. He's up against an, is that an STI? It is an STI, a 4502A. The 2 heavy tanks are capping versus a Panther II, an artillery piece, and a T-28 prototype. And then they're up against this 704. Now, the 704 can be incredibly dangerous, so you have to approach carefully. Thankfully, his attention is being completely taken up by resetting cap. What this means is this is going to allow Wolfrain here in his RU to get around the 704 and really make him pay. So here we go. He's gotten behind him now. Now with the speed of this tank and with the amount of traverse the hull has on this thing, you actually don't have to close on the tank, right? Getting this close isn't necessary. All you have to do is just keep your distance and shoot into the rear. Even the side of this tank is going to have enough armor to bounce a lot of your shells, as we're seeing him bounce time and time again. So if he just would keep his difference, he wouldn't have been tracked, none of this would have happened, he would have been okay. That's where he gets really close, gets the penetration through the lower plate, through the tracks, and he gets the kill through the rear. So, lucky break for him. It's a good thing that 5100 showed up, although it may not have mattered, and there is the game. And I have to remember to hit the right button before we come back. All right, awesome. So there is game 1. A really standard game, good solid play, a couple of unfortunate mistakes. We saw that 53-55, which I think nothing really illustrates it more than watching a guy shoot through a tank and miss. So awesome there. I think I really wish, I mean, it's a bug that never should have happened, but they're aware of it and they're working on fixing it eventually. Interesting story, actually. The first hotfix that they posted for 9.4.1, which is, I guess, whatever, right, on the Russian servers, didn't fix the bug. So they have to do it again. I don't know when the hotfix is coming for the NA servers, but we'll find out soon enough. So hopefully the bug won't be around too much longer, and then we can go back to killing artillery with ease and not having to worry about where you're shooting it. All right, awesome. Game 1 is in the bags. Yeah, awesome. Very excited about it. All right, cool. Let's move on to game 2, shall we? Game 2, our patrol duty scout map. Let me get it all set up. Let me see if I can find it here. All right, here we go. We got it loaded up. So we're going to see it's Sand River. It's an assault. Our hero Fecal is going to make an attempt. My phone is very loud. Let me check it real quick. Okay, it's not important. Of course it's not. Of course it happens to be when I'm recording, right? All right, so game number 2 is going to be on Sand River. It's an assault. I've said that before. We're going to watch, well, you'll see, but he's going to play a really smart game with a really, really exciting finish. Let's get into it. All right, game number 2. Let's speed this up a little bit. We'll get into the nitty-gritty. So Fecal here is in a it's pretty standard tier 9 battle. So what he's going to do first is, because of his speed, even though there's a couple of scouts, he's going to try and get into a very, very strong first scout position. And this spot in particular is up here on this ridgeline overlooking the little bit of water that's by the town. Now, the reason why this is strong is because if you've got a good view range, you can get up here quickly and spot tanks as they move all over the enemy side of the field. There you go. You can see he's already spotted an SU-152, a T-34, the T-49 got spotted, the Panther got spotted, the RU got spotted. Everybody's getting spotted by these light tanks, and that's phenomenal. That allows his team to really move where they need to, and to play and make the correct decisions. And as we know from previous games, information is invaluable when it comes to playing a heavy or even a medium and a tank destroyer. Because you need to know where everything is, so you know where you need to go kill stuff. And if there's something that you can't kill, then you need to make sure that you can avoid it. Alright, so he's going to take a shot at this T-49, shoots way early, tries to sneak the shot in. Looks like artillery is coming down hot and heavy. He wishes he could have that shot back. Alright, this Lorraine, up there in the corner. I don't like this spot, but it seemed to at least work for him for one shell. For 300 damage that you get, so putting in 310 is a slightly above average roll, which is pretty good. But he's going to spot this Tiger, put a shell in, but because there are 3 artillery pieces on the enemy team, he needs to make sure that he doesn't stay in one spot for too long. Otherwise, his 890 health will quickly turn into 0 health. Alright, he's taking shots. We're seeing how this is all going. He's going to take a shot. This M4 managed to land it for 250, which is pretty high. Alright, got the M445, which is now behind a hill. And he's just spotting and seeing what damage he can do right now. It's nothing significant, but it's better than nothing right now. And this is definitely a very safe play for the RU, because the RU-251 has basically no armor. You have to make sure that you don't take too much unnecessary damage, because you're not going to bounce anything, basically. So you have to make sure that whatever damage you do take, you take where you're getting to a spot where you will deal considerably more damage than what you're taking. Now this here is really interesting. He's shooting at this E75, and this E75 is in a really, really bad spot. He's way up high on this ridgeline and can easily be shot at by anybody on the ridge. So you watch this T-30 take a shell. I don't know if it hits or not. He manages to dive down before the T-30 can fire. But it's just not a good spot for that E75. If that E75 were down in that G0 range, where that M103 just died, there's a good chance that this entire push would fail, because that E75 would just crush. It's got the armor, it's got the gun, it's got everything. It's a phenomenal heavy tank, and when you play it that passively, way, way back in the back, all of the benefits of that tank are gone, and you're wasting your time. Alright, kill secure? Kill secure. Panther down. Alright, he's up to 1 kill. He's got good damage, good spotting. What he needs to do at this point is realize that some of his tanks his tank friends are getting crushed pretty heavily. You can see this left flank, there's quite a few tanks over there versus that IS-8 and that VK-3002D. So if he can push up and provide a little bit of supporting fire, that will take a little bit of heat off of them and allow them to push up and get some kills. So let's see if he decides to do that next. Doesn't look at it yet. Looks like Fecal here is just satisfied to sit and play this middle a little bit. Our northern team has been hammered pretty hard. We've got a T-28 prototype with no kills and is at almost basically no health. And it looks like the Tiger II also has no kills and was about half health or so, maybe less. So it looks like that flank over there has been hammered pretty hard. This T-34 has taken a couple of big hits, killed by the ISU-152. So it's nice to get the T-34 out of the way. 8 versus 5. Things are looking up for Fecal and his RU-251. Lorraine goes down, but not before killing the T-30. That was a big kill for that Lorraine. Unfortunately, he paid for it with his life by being killed by artillery. That Su-14-2 has had a great game. 4 kills means he is just rocking it. Alright, so what do we got left over here? We got the T-49 with the little gun and the little turret. So it's basically a glorified Walker Bulldog, but still dangerous. So by focusing him down, that takes one less gun out of the fight. And now Fecal in his RU-251 and this IS-8 driven by, looks like VIII, can take on the enemy RU-251. Now an unfortunate bounce here means that's 250 damage that he really wishes he could have back, but he'll land a shell for 220, and this IS-8 should be able to finish him off. Not quite, but we'll get it. And that was a 750 shell shot from I'm not sure what. My guess is artillery. Because you can't, or it could have been a combination of things too, but the RU just doesn't have that kind of damage. Alright, so E-75 takes out the ISU-152 that was creeping through the town. What do we got left? Well, there's not much. We've got an E-75, a T-30, and an artillery piece versus 3 artillery pieces, our RU-251 Hero, a T-28 prototype that is nearly dead, and an IS-8 that is really, really far back at about half health. So what does our RU friend do? Well, he does the only thing he thinks he can do. He pushes forward. He needs to be the spotter because he knows the T-28 is on basically 0 health. He knows the artillery isn't going to be the aggressor, and the IS-8 is too slow and too far back to do much of anything. So what is he going to do? Let's find that E-75. Oh, man, what a spot. And he takes a hit. A big hit. Now what he needs to do is try and flank this E-75. But as I was saying, E-75 is a very, very good tank. So if you're going to flank it, you have to be very careful on how you go about it. And getting that miss right there was very, very fortunate. There's a good chance that this RU would be 100% dead by this E-75 had that E-75 landed a shell. Because he didn't, Fecal was able to continue to wrap around and finally got the kill. So what do we got left? Well, it's him versus artillery and a T-30. Let's see what we can do. The artillery fires. He knows the reload on that tank is somewhere around 30 seconds. So he has lots of time to push up and get the kill. All that's left is a T-30 with 1 kill that hasn't really been spotted. He's got 5 kills. That 14-2 has 4. He's been a phenomenal support player. The IS-8 way in the back. Let's see if we can't track this down. Notice, I'm going to pause it here for a second. Notice that there's a minute 9 on the clock. Matter of fact, I'm going to come back real quick and talk about this for a little bit. So when you're capping on an assault map, the problem is that you gather assault points at 1 point per second. Now what that means is that if you have one person on capping, it's going to take 100 seconds to cap all the way out, which is 1 minute 40 seconds. So if you're playing an assault map and you're assaulting and it gets inside 140, there is literally 0 point to capping, because unless you have more than one person on cap, you're not going to be able to get it capped in time. So what we see here in our battle is that our T-28 is way out of position. Our IS-8 is close to cap, and our RU-251 is not anywhere near cap. Which means what this IS-8 needs to do is push forward. By capping, it is effectively taking it out of the fight. Now, we'll see that it works in his favor, but it's not a play that he needed to make. And actually, there's a good chance that it would have been much more beneficial had he pushed forward and tried to engage the T-30 in the field. All right, back to the battle. We'll watch the last minute of this or so. So, our RU-251 is moving up, trying to find our T-30 enemy here. And we know that we've got 3 artillery pieces moving up. Now we start about the start cap, but again, as I was saying, there's just not enough time left on the clock. So we just have to find the T-30 and see where he shows up. Now, somehow, he managed to escape the 251. But, as we all know, there he is. Gets spotted finally. So, we know where the T-30 is. He's full health. Pause it again, I want to go back again. So remember what I was saying, how you can't cap at 140? This T-30 moved out of his heavily defended position to engage the IS-8 on cap, not understanding that he would be able to hide just fine, go for a draw, which is a win in assault, which is disappointing from a tier 9. So when you're on these late ends of the assault, you need to make sure you watch the clock. The clock is just as important as the mini-map when it comes to assault maps, because this T-30 could easily sit back and defend, or even push another flank. Push one that's not expected. Push one away from the IS-8, because you know that there's not enough time to cap. The other one, too, is you can actually track it. Some people use XVM, which tells you how many people are on cap. But you can actually track the numbers as they go up. Because if there's one person on cap, it goes up 1 point per second. If there's 2 people on cap, it goes up 2 times per second. Amazing, right? If there's 3 people on cap, it's 3 times per second. If there's 3 or more, it's still 3 times per second, 3 points per second. So you never have more than 3 points per second. What that also means is that in an assault, the fastest you can cap, hands down, is 33 seconds. 33 seconds is a long time. It's a really long time. So you have to be careful about that it doesn't go up any faster than that. So by understanding how the capping mechanics work, you can adjust your play so that you can draw a win if it comes down to that point. Same point too, if you're in a standard battle, and let's say, who knows, right? There's a lot of other things that can happen, but if you are on the losing end and you know you don't have enough time left, sometimes it's actually, you can play to that draw if you want, and then you don't get the loss, so your win rate doesn't go down as much. Actually, it doesn't go down at all, and you don't get, you can kind of, screw your opponents a little bit and be like, hey, look, you're close, but you didn't get me, sorry, next time. But you have a lot of options. But in this case, an assault, clock management is incredibly important because there are no draws. Unless I think everybody dies at the same time. I think you could draw that way. But that's the only case I can think of that would cause that. And that's really rare. That means that you and your opponent have to shoot each other at the same time, and your bullets have to be in the air at the same time, and they have to land at roughly the same time, although they got rid of the bullet disappearing mechanic a while back. Really, really rare to happen. This is a much more likely scenario where the T-30 sits in the back, waits for people to go up one at a time, dodges some artillery shells, doesn't stop, and will be able to draw the game out and give his team the win rather than giving it to the enemy. All right, back to the game. We're going to finish it up. I promise this time, no more stops. All right, so we've got the T-30. The T-30 takes a shot from the RU, from Fecal, but Fecal misses, and here comes the artillery. Bang, bang, bang. 2 artillery shells, 1 RU shell, down goes the T-30, who pushed forward and died. All right, game number 2 in the bag. So I hope you guys saw how the... I hope you guys saw how the RU can have a very, very good effect just by spotting and taking that kind of advantage. Now, what I would have liked to see a little bit better is once the heavies take that ridgeline, unless your view range is pretty significantly higher, which is possible, you could have things like situational awareness, so that's radio, but you could have extra view range, you can have coded optics, possibly, which will be a boost to view range. So you can have a really high view range in these tanks, which means they're still valuable there. But I feel like having a more forward position, maybe a slightly more aggressive position, maybe trying to play in that valley a little bit would have allowed his team to not take so many shots from the Lorraine, from the T-49, from the RU, from the E-75, from all the tanks that were over there on that flank. And that could have could have made the game was not so so close at the end. Now, it's not necessary. A lot of this is theory crafting, but it's possible that that is something that you could do. So that's a kind of a balance that you have to make, right? You have to make sure that you're doing lots of spotting because you've got the view range to do that, but at the same point too, you're not doubling up on something when you could be more effective elsewhere. All right, so we get game 3 all set up. Now this is a fantastic game. It's from a gentleman named Company 1994. I found it on the World of Tanks replays, as I've found all of mine up to this point. WoTreplays.com. It'll be, as always, I will link the replays in the description below. But this game is just, there's some fortunate playing to it, but a lot of it is just pure player skill, where Company 1994 understands very, very simple game mechanics of the simple game mechanics of you're a light tank, you can't go up against a bunch of heavies by yourself. So you need to reposition, and you can reposition easily. But he also understands that by using his speed doesn't necessarily mean getting from point A to point B very quickly. Right? It also means that you can set up ambushes, you can take shots, get in and out of positions very, very quickly and easily without taking fire. That's one of the things that made the Hellcat so powerful before the patch, was that the Hellcat could get into a bushed, covered position, move up, sit, wait for the enemy, take a shot, and then back out very, very quickly so that it didn't take any return fire, along with a fairly decent reload and a very, very good gun for tier 6. It's one of the things that made the Hellcat so dangerous. Now that they've patched that out, it's not as deadly, but you can still do that same kind of thing. You just have to be more careful about taking your shots, because the reverse speed on that tank has been drastically nerfed as of 9.4. All right, we're gonna hop into the game. Actually, I'm gonna get a drink of water because I'm thirsty. Also, because my throat is a little dry, because we've gone through 2 games, and I'm certainly not used to talking at this point for 30 minutes still. Hopefully, we'll get there, but until that point, I think that I'm just gonna make sure I've got some fluids so that I can keep myself lubricated, I guess would be the word. All right, so game 3, let's see how it goes. So again, we're going to speed up through the intro. Now, Company 1994, our hero for this 3rd and final match, the big game, if you will, is going to move up this this west flank. Now, a lot of times you don't see a lot of tanks that go this route if you start from the north, and part of that is that I feel like it's I feel like you have to play this side very defensively, and being aggressive can be very dangerous. But we'll see that the enemy sends enough tanks that it actually makes a very, very solid push and works really, really well. Now, of course, that also works well through the rest of the map, but we'll watch it play out. So he's going to take this position. There's not a lot of cover, but he's immediately spotted, and he has to back away. So he hasn't spotted who spotted him yet, but it's likely one of the scouts who has moved up through the village because he didn't spot him anywhere else. We've already seen the Type 62, so we know it's not him. So it's either the T-71 or the MT-25. So let's see if any other tanks reveal themselves to us as we're watching. And there's the MT-25. Good. So we've eliminated both scouts, so we know that it has to be the T-71, and lo and behold, there he is. Trying to be sneaky, getting spots, moving through. Well, our RU, Company 1994, is not going to have any of that. So instead, he's going to try and punish him as best he can. There he is. He spotted up. Notice he's loaded an HE round. Only gets a critical off of that one. And there is a big hit. That's a penetrating hit with that HE round at 320 damage. Let's see if we can get another one for the kill. No, only 75 damage, and the Borsig takes him out. Now, taking out that scout in that position is really, really good, because he could spot the entire hillside, and it would be a really, really bad time for our Type 59, our RU, and our Borsig. So what is he up against? Well, it looks like it's an E50 and an IS. Now the E50 is a very, very strong tank, and going up against a Borsig, a Type 59, and an RU-251 means the E50 is basically going to win every time. Sounds like it's crazy with 3 tanks, but the E50 is a good enough tank that if it's fully upgraded, it will absolutely dominate all those tanks. The Type doesn't really have the penetration to get through the front. It can go through the lower glacis, but it's a risky shot. The IS has damage to get through, and as you'll see, another tank has shown up. It's an STI. STI definitely has enough armor to make it pay. Instead, though, our RU is very tunnel visioned right now, shooting at this Indine. Doesn't look like it gets the shot in and takes a massive hit from that STI I was mentioning earlier. Look at that damage. Whew. Big hit. So we've got the D50 moving up, using its armor against this Type 59. This Type 59, unfortunately, really isn't going to stand a chance. Company's trying to get a shot on the cupola. He's not able to pull it off, and he knows it's time for him to go. So down he goes. He runs away from the E50. Rather than trying to go up and around, he drops down, which will break the line of sight. He'll be able to disappear faster. There's a number of things that happen when you do that. And he's already back at cap, where we have a Borsig who has repositioned back to cap. We have the artillery over there, and a Tiger 1, which very clearly seems to be either a very bad player camping in the base or a bot. Either way, he's not being very helpful, and that 230 millimeter, or the 203 millimeters of penetration you get from the long 88 could be very, very valuable. So the game is not looking very well. It's 6 versus 6, but if you look at the tier 9s, it's 5 versus 4, which may seem good, right? They've taken out 3 tier 9s for the only loss of 2, but they're still down by 1. And 2 of them are pushing very, very hard, almost completely unopposed. Alright, E50 takes a hit. Our Company 1994 is really trying hard to get a shot without getting spotted. But because of the hilly terrain, there's not a lot there. And look, a 3rd tier 9. That Leopard PTA is just moving quickly through the hills, is really going to be frustrating to deal with at that point. Tiger 1 takes a big hit. Looks like a 600 damage ram plus a 400 damage shot. The Leopard PTA takes a big, big hit from artillery and is finished off by the Patton. So luckily, they managed to kill those tier 9s, but in the process, they've lost so many tanks that they're now down by 2 rather than being even at 6-6. That E50 and that Leopard PTA caused the death of 2 artillery pieces, a Tiger 1, and a Borsig through spotting and a combined spotting and damage. And here comes the STI. What a deadly tier 9 heavy tank. The armor on the front is absolutely phenomenal, and it's just a good solid tank. So Company is switching to heat, and he's got to at this point because his 190 millimeters of penetration is still iffy, even shooting through the lower glacis of that STI. So what he needs to do is make sure that every shot counts, because as soon as he's out of heat, he's going to have a much, much harder time shooting at the tank. Now he knows he has some backup. We've got the tier 9 artillery over there. I've got an E50 who is almost dead up on the hill. So there's quite a bit of opportunity here for him to do some damage. We're going to put another shell into the STI. A 3rd shell. And he's going to move up for the 4th to try and guarantee that hit. And there it is. So, now that he's got the STI figured out, he's got to go back to base. Now there's a couple of options this could be, and nobody's on the map. So what does he got to do? Well, you got to move in. It's only 1 person on cap. You can see that because, as I mentioned earlier, it's only incrementing by 1 per second. And there it is, the IS. He's going to take a shot and deliver a shot in order to guarantee the kill. And now, this is going to rely on that DPM to finish before the IS can reload. One of the things I really like about this play, let me actually pause it real quick because I want to talk about that. One of the things I really like about this play that he does is that moving back and forth that you saw. And I'll go back, and actually let me go back right now and we can replay it. We'll go back 10 seconds and go from here. So he moves up, right? And he goes in, he shoots the IS, he gets the damage, then he takes a hit, which is fine, that's expected. But notice that rather than stopping, he's still moving. Forward, backwards, forward, backwards. Look where those artillery shells came in, right? Those artillery shells came in where he was and where he was going to be if he had continued in that direction. By moving back and forth, he has essentially juked 2 artillery pieces that would have killed him, which allows him to stay alive. Because he's fast enough, he can do that. And that's very, very, a very good move on his part to be able to pull that off. It also means that we're only 11 to 12 now, rather than 8 to 10. Now, we've lost a lot of tanks, and there's a lot of things going on here, but the important part is that he's reset cap. There's no danger from that. And 2 artillery's wasted their shells on him, so now he can come back, support against this final heavy tank before he goes up against the 3 artillery pieces. All right, here we go. So, he's defended cap. Now he's got to defend his team. Alright, here comes the 103. Takes a shot, misses. The 103 gets the kill on the M46, takes a shot, misses. But what he knows, and the 103 doesn't know, is there's an artillery lurking behind. You know artillery? Do you know what artillery players love more than shooting someone at the other side of the map and killing them in one shot? It's putting their gun barrel right up the bum and pulling the trigger. We're going to see the M3335, or 5355. That's the wrong designation. We're going to see him do that right on camera. And boom! Massive hit, short range. There's nothing more satisfying than taking your incredibly inaccurate giant gun and killing somebody with it at short range. It's fun. Frankly, if all artillery players would do that, if that was just how artillery played, then that would actually be really, really cool, and I would appreciate that. Alright, so what Company's doing now is he understands that it's 1 scout tank and 1 artillery versus 3 artillery. So if the 3 artillery are working together, which is likely that they are at this point, what they need to do is kill the scout tank first. So they need to kill the RU, and then they have to go after the artillery. But that's easier said than done. So Company is working with the artillery player so that he knows when the reload is. And here he spots both the Tiger P and the Panther, which is very, very lucky. But he has to keep moving because he hasn't spotted the 212A, that tier 9 Russian artillery piece. And he needs to make sure that he doesn't get shot. With 382 damage and almost no hit points, that is effectively a guaranteed death. So what he's going to do here then is the 5355 has spotted them. And now because he's returned, he's going to be able to get shots onto these artillery pieces because he knows that massive shell that we saw earlier was the 212A, and he's still reloading. Now, he doesn't want to get down and track himself. That would almost be a guaranteed death. So instead, he's going to take this slightly less steep slope, slide down here, hopefully not track himself, which he doesn't, and then move around and get some shots on the side. Tiger P first is in line. So very, very good, good shot there. And as he's moving up, he's going to try and take out the GW Panther. And there's the shell. So good job on him to pull that off. Now he's going to turn around, Go after that 212A who just fired. So the 212A, I'm not sure what the reload is on it, but it's likely somewhere around 30 seconds. So he's got 30 seconds to spot. And he's going to go for the first artillery spot that is very, very common in where it is, which is up this slope and into these houses. But while he heads up, lo and behold, he's behind him. So he's going to take a shell here. He misses and needs to make sure he doesn't get shot. That 212, even with a splash, can easily kill him. So what he needs to do here is escape and get behind him or around him or something. Because the last thing he wants to be doing is facing that giant cannon head on. So he's going to go around. Now the benefit of this play is that the 212 doesn't know where the 5355 is. He knows that he was last seen over in that C9 area, but doesn't know then. So when the 5355 gets on cap, this has the extra effect of making the 212 think it's the RU. And lo and behold, he's waiting to spot, but it's too late. Shot 1 goes in, shot 2. Does he have the reload for shot 3? He's thinking about it, he goes for it. And there's the shell. 6 damage for the last kill, 5 kills. Pascucci's medal, defender, an absolutely phenomenal game. So, that was our big game of the week. We saw a really smart play. He takes an initial position and then finds that it's untenable, falls back into a new position, defends with his teammates. He doesn't go out on his own. He takes out that STI with some help. He pushes in. He takes out the IS. The E50 and the Leopard PTA both got taken out. It was just a solid game. Very well done by a company 1994 in his RU-251. So, what's next? Well, next week, we have lined up the Leopard PTA, the Tier 9 German medium tank. This is a very good tank. A friend of mine has it. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm very familiar with the playstyle. It's another lightly armored tank, but it's got very good rate of fire, very good accuracy, and very good damage. So we're going to see a lot of good games out of this one as well. I'm looking forward to it. Until next time, keep tanking. Talk to you guys later. Bye.